the mindset that you have to have in order to do this, right? Like the podcasting, because when you do something and you're scared of it and you do it anyway, that is the definition of confidence and courage.
I just come out from an 8-hour shift, and I prefer to take a nap or like sleep before going to the nightclub, but I prefer to do this, and obviously I'm going to be a little bit more tired, but I'll do the grind. Like, I don't mind hard work.
Do it at the same times, at the same place, on the same days. Like, that's how you automate things. And then eventually your body and your mind, your subconscious mind, will tell you, hey man, this is like, you have to do this if you're not doing it. You learn as you go. That's a big concept that we need to get out there. And again, we're not like experts in this. We have our lazy times, but that is my now quote of the year.
That's why surrounding yourself with people who wants to better your technique or your skills overall, that's also very, very important.
Yeah. Today we want to talk about what this podcast has really done for us. You know, the skills that we've gained for it. And we've only been doing it for a very, very short time. Like 17 episodes right now. It's nothing, honestly, right?
Like 4 or 5 months almost, 4 months.
About 4 months.
Yeah.
And you got to remember that when we first started, it was like a weekly thing. We boosted it up to 2 because we wanted to get more iterations and get better at it. But that wasn't till what, maybe 3 weeks ago? Just 3 weeks ago, man. Yeah. So we just ramped it up as of recently. But yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today, because I think it's important for people to know the value that you get out of starting, you know, something that you have to put yourself out there for. Because we all know that it's very, very fucking scary.
It is.
To start something, even not even just video, but just to start something in general. That seems to be the theme that we talk about, because it is fucking hard. And whatever experiences that we can talk about to help people get there, then, you know, I think it's a value to people, and I think people could really use it.
Yeah, most definitely. I remember our first meeting at the Starbucks next to the Syndicate, next to Syndicate. And we took some notes from that. And I think it was kind of cold back then, right? It was like March or something, February or something. So, and now it's like 3 digits, like it's hot. So, you know, season change, but we're still here, you know, improving. The studio is looking much better than the first time we started.
Yeah. So I want to kind of take it back to when we first started, coming from, you know, my perspective of things, of how I thought about the process of like starting, right? So initially, what I like to do, and I promise you this has a lot to do with like how we started podcasting was, or at least how I got the idea to start podcasting was, that's pretty much all I do. Is watch podcasts on YouTube. Honestly, with my spare time, I don't watch Netflix or anything. I've said that before. I don't watch Netflix. I know this seems like lame and boring. I don't watch Netflix. I don't watch pretty much anything but YouTube. And YouTube in a sense where I guess I try to get something out of it, educational or maybe psychological, you know, just something that like interests me, my interest pretty much. And maybe podcasters that I listen to, some are would be Andrew Huberman, who's neuro brain scientist, whatever. You know, he's helped me with like his tutorials, and his lesson plans have helped me with my sleep a lot and circadian rhythms and all that stuff that I like to talk about. One of them's Chris Williamson. He's like more of a deep thinker, a modern philosopher kind of, you know. He'll kind of integrate like old teachings of Stoicism into the newer, like what we're going through right now with technology and people's like problems, young men's depressions and all that stuff. So he's a good one. Yeah, he's a good one to listen to. How I really started was Joe Rogan. Of course, that's the real GOAT, you know, of podcasting. Yeah, I mean, he's when the pandemic happened, that's when it really took off for me as far as like really starting to watch podcasts. I think I saw all of his podcasts, and that's a lot of podcasts to watch over time during the COVID when we were on lockdown. Another one's Lex Friedman, and then so on and so forth.
Alex Hormozy.
Now, since I'm into, you know, trying to scale up this business and learn about it. But to me, it was, so back to my story, to me, it was very fascinating to just listen to conversation, because here's like something that I like to do. I like to talk to my friends at the bar, even though I don't drink, mind you. But when my friends do, I like to chit chat with them. I grew up with them, and I think conversation is just so fascinating because it's like storytelling.
Yeah.
It just takes you through. You get a visualization in your head, and then it takes you through a world of emotions when you get those visualizations. Right. And I think it's a very fascinating. What do you say? What do you call this? Like back and forth,
right?
Between
it's like
two people.
Tennis match, right?
Yeah, I mean, look at all the benefits that you get off of it. You learn something from someone. You get more connected to whoever you're talking to if you really listen to them.
Of course.
You also, you get a special bond, right? Or you could just do bar talk. Like you could just have a good time and laugh about things, about your past, and you could talk about the plans you have your future. You could mastermind it, like all these ideas going into a podcast. I mean, going just into a conversation. Mm-hmm. So I think that's when I had the idea in my head. I'm like, oh man, I think that since I watch podcasts and I like to listen to podcasts and I like to talk, about ideas and stuff, well, why not start one?
And everything adds up over time. Like the more podcasts that we do, you become a better speaker and a better question asker. You tend to listen, and then like we talk about the tennis match, right? You listen to the story of the talker, the speaker, and then you return with another question or a statement that enriches the conversation that you're having. And this is what this podcast taught me, and it's still teaching me. Like it's never done, right? You can only get better, but it made me a better question asker. Like in my personal life, day-to-day personal life, I'm asking better questions. At least, like that's what I noticed about this experience.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely one of them. I think that's definitely a framework that you have to go to when you're talking to people, is asking questions at first. And it could just be, dull question. It could be like, at first it could be, oh, what do you do? What do you do for work? And then within that though, you kind of start elaborating on those questions, right? Like say if I was to talk about your job, say if you were like some lawyer, I can ask you, you're a lawyer? That's very fascinating. Like what goes on in the court? How do you feel when you step into a courtroom? Mm-hmm. And you could talk about that. It's like, does it still scare you to have to talk to a judge? I'm sure you're used to it by now. So you're just kind of elaborating and like again articulating like your thoughts. Mm-hmm. It makes you do a lot of things, and especially that you get conscious of those things. That's why it's like deliberate learning. Mm-hmm. That's definitely what I try to do now. That's one of the skills also that I wanted to talk about, is that ever since I started doing this, since it seems so intimate, like who I'm talking to in front of me, especially when you know that the lights are on and the camera's on, it doesn't affect our conversation, but I mean, we're still real talking. There's no script here, except for bullet points. But it just talking into this mic and from my end, hearing myself talk, and then you talking, I could hear. It's definitely like a dance. It's definitely like, okay, I know when to stop, and then I know when to let you talk, and then I'll kind of go in there so that I won't forget about the question. But it's a dance. It's like a dance. It's almost like, okay, wait, I don't want to interrupt him right now because he's making like good points, but then I don't want to forget this point, but I don't, you know what I mean? Right. It's like you have to insert these questions. You have to not abruptly interrupt someone when you're speaking. And that goes for real life, because I am pretty much a social creature. Like I'm never almost home, right? I have my other job I have my other job talking to people. I go to a martial arts gym. I go to a regular gym where I talk to people. So I can actually practice the skill of communication everywhere I go, which is great because it relates to when I come here during the podcast.
And the thing about podcasts, or like any conversation that you're having in your jobs or your personal life, whatever, you don't wait for the other party to stop so you can talk. It's like a dance, like you said. You're listening to the speaker, and then you're either responding with another question or a statement. So you don't wait until, I'm just going to listen, act like I'm listening, and then I'm going to talk about my stuff, And that lowers the quality of the talk. But if you're actually engaged and you're listening, active listening, and asking questions or enriching the conversation like we talked about, then that's gonna take the conversation to the next level.
Yeah, and it works for, that's a great point. It works for a lot of scenarios. It works for customer service, and these things all connect together, right? Like if you're doing, say, if you're a like server, waiter at a restaurant, or if you're like a bartender who I've spoke to a couple people that's also in my industry, or even just being social at like a class, like a hit class or something, or a martial arts gym or whatever, you can take those skills with you and yeah, like I was saying, practice them. They're all like pretty interconnected. But the thing is that just like you said, I used to be on autopilot almost when I'd communicate. It'd almost be like I wasn't listening. I was paying attention to too many things. I was paying attention to like what I was thinking about, like what I was gonna eat later when I was talking to someone, and then I wasn't really interested when I was younger, especially too.
Right.
I wasn't really interested in what the other person was saying. I just thought that it was just something to do. It was just like niceties. It was just like being polite. It was almost like, oh, cool. Like, yeah, that's what you do for work. Oh, and then,
But you don't care actually.
but you don't really care. And then you fire off, because you want to hear yourself talk. Like I put that on my story one time, is that I used to talk because I like to hear myself talk. You see what I'm saying? It's almost like you like to hear yourself because we're all like egocentric, and it's in our minds, it's all about us. But doing this podcast really got me to like dial in on the other person. So what you thought was a skill set was about you, it's actually about the other person. So that just makes us more interconnected.
That is a great point, because this podcast also helps you connect with people on a deeper level, because you got to hear their stories, and then it also made you a better listener, not just a better question asker. So you actually like pay attention to what the other person is saying, and then remember those small details that he or she mentioned, and then you get to know that person a little bit better. If this wasn't for this podcast, would you still pay this much attention? I doubt it. But then it carries on to your day-to-day life, your gym, your professional career, whatever. So it adds that value in your everyday life.
Yeah, it really does. When I go out, I almost test run with the skills that I learned here, on people.
Right.
Not that I'm using them or anything. It's just you put it to the test almost. I'm consciously aware when I talk to, when like the video's not recording, when the lights are on, when I'm just having a casual conversation, I'm always kind of beta testing myself, right? It's almost like, oh, okay, well, I said maybe, this is just an example, but I said like too many times. Not that it's a bad thing, because I know it's in our language, like what we were talking about last week. It's integrated in our language now, saying like and knows and ums and all that stuff. I completely get it. But now I'm learning between communication that it's actually, it comes off more concise and more clear if you just take a pause. There's one of the skills relating to communication and what we got from this podcast. So I'll catch myself sometimes. I'll still say it. Like, see, you know what I mean? Like, it makes me want to say like because it's such a habit. But I'll catch myself doing it, and I'll just pause for 2 seconds before I think about saying the word or like. So I found out that it's more powerful. Actually. So if we're sitting here talking and then I get caught up, I'll fill the word with like. Right? I'll be like, but see, there you go. But if I can catch that, if I'm aware of it, and it's not like an easy fix, you have to like reverse engineer it. If you can catch it time and time again, then you'll be able to fix it slowly and surely. If I feel the need to say that word, I'll just kind of take a minute. Yeah, and then I'll just go, because honestly, it works for you because it's more powerful if you pause a little bit and then kind of say what you think instead of having those filler words. That's what I've learned from like these tutorials and good speakers and good public speakers.
Because while we like growing up, we think that if you just pause for a second, then you're gonna lose that right. That's why we come up with filler words, so likes, knows. So you don't want the other party to take the conversation into a different direction that you don't want to go to. And silence can be uncomfortable, but you have to like understand that's just thing that us humans do. You carry on. You have to think about it for a second, rather than like if you're playing a tune and then you just like miss the note. That's what it feels like if you use those filler words, the ums, the likes, and the you knows.
Yeah, I think that's exactly. I think that's number one. Why people use filler words is because they're uncomfortable, including us. You know, like there you go. But at this point, it's just a tick, right? It's almost just a tick that I say because it does feel awkward. That was my point. Like it does feel awkward a little bit starting off, but when you get, I guess, to like another level of speaking, there is levels to the shit, man. Like if you listen to eloquent speakers like Martin Luther King or what's it called? What was his name? Anyways, if you listen to a good public speaker, Obama, right? You'll hear a lot of pauses in their sentences.
Speech,
in their speeches. But it makes it more powerful because it's almost like they're trying to formulate their thoughts, and what they're about to say next is going to be powerful. Like it's going to have a lot of weight to it. So it actually works for them, for what people think what awkward really is. But moving on from communication. So that's just one aspect of a very powerful aspect of what we're learning during this podcast. Another aspect is, I've talked about this on previous episodes, but you're literally a walking self-development tool now. If we're talking about self-development, which is what this podcast is about, man, try entrepreneurship, right? Course, because you're going to walk the walk. Like we can sit here and talk about like self-improvement and stuff and read self-improvement books and preach and sometimes not even follow our own principles. I mean, we do, but sometimes we get caught up. But man, if you need to reach deadlines and if you really want to make a business work, just like what we're trying to do here, and trust me, we're doing it for the love of, just talking and communicating. That's why we started this. But if you want to grow it, it's going to teach you a lot. It's going to teach you a lot about discipline. You have to set your structures, right? And like we were talking about before we started recording, you have to pretty much set schedules for yourself, right? You have to automate like your timing. Like we do this, honestly, we do this at 3:30 to 4 o'clock every single Thursday. We don't miss a beat.
Yeah, of
like
course not.
It's at the same times. It's like when you get off work and then I'm sitting here like I just got done taking a nap. It's like the same structured, but
you're fresh.
Yeah, but guess what? Like we get it done, right? It's automated. It's almost like, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be doing something at 3:30. Oh yeah, it's a podcast. Yeah, so it lets that internal alarm clock. It lets you know that you have to be doing something just like you're working out. So that's one of the skills as well. Doing this.
And we're all like creatures of habit, right? And today is like July 4th, by the way. So we had this talk, like we're not going to be meeting today, right? Because it was July 4th and you called in for work or whatever. Right. So I was like, I wish we had the podcast. Because in my mind, that every time I show up here and then we record a podcast, I feel better. Even though it's like mentally, it can be a bit exhausting because you go through the motions and you try to talk about stuff that actually matters. Like we're not just trying to like, make out words and like create sentences that has no value.
Before you go on, I'm sorry, man. Let me make a point. Dude, that's why we started this thing.
Yeah.
Nothing over here is that like we script it out and then we're like, hey, you say that and then I'll say this.
No.
We're just freestyling pretty much. I'm like Eminem, dog. Like we're just saying shit.
Very humble too.
Yeah, I'm just like I'm just saying shit and there's no like, what do you think our audience wants to like, you know what I mean? Like, not that like meaning what it's scripted to where like, we should say this because our audience wants to hear it. No, we're going to talk about what we talk about and hopefully, you want to hear what we have to say, right?
And that's facts.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, go ahead with your point. I didn't want to miss that point because I thought it was very important.
No, like we were planning not to do an episode today.
Yes.
But we still find the time to do it and I'm very happy.
Yeah.
So we got that done. I mean, we're still recording the podcast. We're not done. But in my mind, like, I'm like, okay. Because like you said, Thursdays, 3:30 to 4, like that's when we start. We do this. And I block this time for my schedule. So that works for both of us, and we're getting it done, you know? We're reaching the milestones, like 20 episodes first. And then we'll see where this takes us.
Yeah, so that's another good example of what this does to you, like your discipline, right? Because it only adds to your discipline. Number one, you just said it's 4th of July. I mean, shit, like my friends are holding barbecues out there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not that I'm not gonna go to them. I'm probably gonna go to them when I have time later. I have to like upload this to the computer after this, and it's just part of my lifestyle, right? It's almost like, yeah, I want to get it in right away. Like I want to get this on the computer so it doesn't take space on the phones, and then all of a sudden you got to set up for the editing. I might not edit today, but I want to set it up to where it's easily accessed for me.
Right.
So so you're also building systems in place, right? It's automated. It's automated, man. Like after this, when you leave, I do the same things. Right away, I'm going to take these phones and put the videos on my laptop so that they're there, easily accessible, and put it into CapCut so that I can just open the damn thing and then start getting to work, to editing.
Right.
So that it's easier for me when I do edit. So those are, again, one of the things that like makes you disciplined. You have systems and kind of routines in place.
Routines, like they work. Like if you wake up every day 6 a.m. and you go to bed every night 11 p.m. whatever, and then you eat at the same time, and then you go to the restroom at the same time, your body feels great, because it has a system.
Yeah, it's structured.
Yeah, structured. But if you got that haphazardly life, like you go to bed at like 3 a.m. one day, you go to bed at midnight, and then you don't sleep a whole day, whatever, then your body doesn't feel right, like because there's no balance, like there's no structure behind it.
Yeah.
And you can block your time better if you actually create. Is it sexy? Maybe it's not sexy, but
Yeah, it might be a little boring at times too.
But in order to reach that physique, or in order to reach that financial goals, you have to do the things that's boring. Like you have to do that 10,000 rep, right?
And you got to do it for a very long time.
Yeah, you have to do that bicep curls for 10,000 times.
Yeah.
Is it sexy? No, but the end result is sexy.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that.
Again, it just proves time and time again, and this is relating to what we're talking about why we do this podcast and what it taught us, is that, I mean, look, we're getting more proof that we show up at the same times. Like it should, and the only person you should be proving anything to get confidence or your self-esteem is yourself. And this is we're walking the walk, and that's what I'm saying. We're not gloating. It's just you have to show up at the same time, you have to automate it. That's why I keep saying that word, automate. You have to make it automatic. It's really what it means. You have to and to make that easier for yourself, do it at the same times, at the same place, on the same days. Like that's how you automate things. And then eventually your body and your mind, your subconscious mind, will tell you, hey man, this is like, you have to do this if you're not doing it, right? Like you came over here. It's good that we're on the same page, right? Like we come here 3:30, like I said, 4 o'clock. And then this just proves to us that even on a holiday where we could be doing, when we could be like, like I said, going to like a barbecue or something like that. Not to say that you shouldn't have like fun on a holiday. Go enjoy yourself. Be safe though.
Don't blow your finger.
Don't blow your fingers off. You could still do it, but it just proves that you're disciplined and you're willing to get shit done on days that, you could probably relax a little bit. But that's also going to prove that it depends how bad you want it, right?
That's right.
And we're here. We're here. There's no talking the talk. Like we're walking the walk. We're literally right now as we speak, and we're doing it. So I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, I always text you one day before. Like I always text you on Wednesdays, like tomorrow, right? Like we're on. Yeah. But I do respect that. Like stuff get in the way. Like maybe there's gonna be an event that I cannot miss on one Thursday, but I'll definitely let you know.
Yeah.
Or something might pop up in your schedule, so we still have to have that communication, even though like we are on the same page on routine and systems. Is it gonna be perfect? No, but if it's 99% of the time that we do this, then I think that's a win, because life gets in the way. Like it's never going to be perfect.
Of course. And you have to adjust to those. And another example was I told you that, hey, I may have gotten called in for work, right?
Yeah.
But what I was thinking was like, I'm gonna do everything. Of course, it's only to me. I'm not saying like don't go to your work. I had the option to, but this is priority. That's another way you're walking the walk, right?
Right.
Is because I could have went to work, made a little bit more extra money for the Sony ZV one that I was telling you about, for another investment that we're gonna have in this podcast, a third camera for better angles. But here I am, I thought it's opportunity cost. I thought the time for me to be at work was more or was less valuable than the time for me to be here, which means this is very important to me. The time that we're doing right now and getting these repetitions and getting like the work and then putting out another video is more important to me than technically making money.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's what really I'm trying to say with my actions is that I could be at work making money, but I'm not doing this. I mean, I'm not, and I'm doing this.
Right.
Right.
No, I hear you because like I work 2 jobs, right? You know that. So I just come out from an 8-hour shift, and I prefer to take a nap or like sleep before going to the nightclub. But I prefer to do this, and obviously I'm gonna be a little bit more tired, but I'll do the grind. Like I don't mind hard work.
Which, you know what? Which brings me to a point where that's why I respect you for it, because I started this with you because I know, man, because we're martial artists.
Yeah.
It's what we do.
Discipline.
It's what we do. Like it's proven. It's
what
proven.
we do.
Well, yeah, let's go. But no, it's like what we do, right? Like you have to be, if you're committed to something, that's almost the quote unquote like martial arts way. Like you live your life as a martial artist, like fucking Musashi. You know what I mean? It's just you get shit done if you really want it bad, with whatever obstacle that's in your way. It's stoic. Like it really is. Something to be proud of, and I'm glad we're doing it. So another things, this is pretty much a tutorial on like what we feel about podcasting, and a tutorial on like other things, like how what has this taught us, right? And another thing is just you learn as you go. That's a big concept that we need to get out there. And again, we're not like experts in this. We have our lazy times, but that is my now quote of the year. As you know, I have a lot of these quotes.
Right.
But that's it. That's the basic principles. We have mission statements in life, and that is what the biggest thing I've learned, no matter how obvious it sounds, is that you learn as you go. There's no other way. Right. There's no other way, dude. Like, you don't know how to start a business? Do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's so crazy. It's so crazy to say almost. It sounds ridiculous. It's like, you don't know how to do a business? Do it how? Right. You just do it. Like, you look, obviously living in the information age, you look at a tutorial and then that's what gets you off. Point yourself in that direction, like
Analysis,
go on your
paralysis.
phone. Exactly. Yeah, go on your phone and research it and then take that step. So relating to this podcast, when I started, it's like, so I'll ask you this, all right? What do you think is needed to start a podcast? Like when you see a podcast, like when you watch a podcast, what do you think is like the first thing you needed?
Probably a phone.
Okay.
Like
What else?
some recording device for the audio.
There you go. Like a lot of things. My point is a lot of things are obvious. There's no, step 1, step 2, step 3. Dude, I heard this from the Think Media podcast. Fucking great. Just start messy. Just start messy, man.
Right.
Because a lot of people, they have the perfectionism syndrome. And even with me, dog, like, especially in writing, when I started writing, no one knows how to write. No one. Like, even the brightest people that went to school, because I go to school with a lot of them. I go to work with a lot of them that's graduated, and we talk about writing. And they were like, "Oh, you write?" I was like, "Yeah." They asked me what I write about. I was like, "Just anything." But I remember when I first started, I thought it had to be structured. The punctuations had to be good. Run-on sentences. You know what I mean? Like an English literature teacher.
It has to be perfect.
Like I'm some expert. Yeah, I'm like, and then when I'd read over it, I'd get frustrated. I'd be like, "Ugh, this sounds gross." I mean, that looks gross on paper. But you just go. You just forget about it and go. And then next day you go. Subconsciously, you're gonna get better. There's no way you could get shittier if you keep doing it. And this is probably the main thing I wanted to get out of this podcast is this. We just started, right? And again, for example, The reason why I asked you is I thought the same damn thing. I just put it into physical action, right? You said that I asked you what we needed to a podcast, probably a recorder, right? Probably a video camera, that which you have, which is accessible because you have it.
Right.
And a mic is the obvious one. What the fuck? Like, that's all you need.
The entry point is like low.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And obviously, like, there are higher tiers, like you can go with the lights and like the
of course,
logos
but don't,
and everything.
Yeah.
But the start, your phone, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, like you said with the higher tiers, that's what you're figuring out as you go. You're probably like, oh, this might look good here, so I'm gonna get this little by little. You don't go, yeah, let me get this big ass light with a lantern on it. Yeah, we started with those $50 lights over there, right? They're $50 for two, by the way.
Good deal.
Yeah, we could have done with that, but it was kind of time to make the quality for me, right? Like everyone's different. You know, if you financially can't, aren't able to get it, don't go with it. Stick with the same thing. If you have no lights, try to get a window, open your windows, and then just work with that. Work with whatever you have. Because remember, yes, in YouTube, you have to package it. It's more of a packaging model, meaning like your thumbnails, titles, you have to be clickbaity a little bit.
Right.
But what's the real... what the real value is inside your content, right? It's what you're actually speaking about. If you're adding value to other people, that's why we do this. You know, maybe you could take a thing or two. That's what you really want to do. Right. So going back to it, I went a little bit farther and went on tangent, but yeah, just you get the mic, and after that, you just start talking. You just start talking, jot down ideas. You know, jot down like what you want, and it could be anything. It doesn't have to be like self-development. It doesn't have to be even like us. Listen, it doesn't even have to be a certain niche, because that's another thing. A lot of people are like, what do I talk about? Hell, sometimes we don't even know what we're talking about.
Hey, that's fact.
You know what I mean? I have bullet points here. Sometimes we go off the radar.
Back,
we go off the radar. I try to, and I've learned this as a skill, I've tried to stay within the topic, but sometimes we'll kind of veer
branch
off.
Out a little
bit.
bit.
We'll branch out, but it's okay. That happens. It comes with a learning curve. It's okay to branch out sometimes. It's okay to get off track sometimes. That's a part of it, man. And so, yeah, don't hesitate. Don't... it's easier for me. It's easier said than done. I get it. You know, like with people that have a perfectionism syndrome.
Yeah, I was
like all of us.
Thinking that,
like all of us. But that's everyone. That's everyone. You just start, and that's. I'm willing to bet. I don't know the actual statistics on this, but I'm willing to bet that's 95% of people don't start because of analysis paralysis, perfectionism syndrome.
Yeah. And perfectionism hits differently when it's your own product, right? So let's say you wrote an essay, and it's the same essay. Like let's say there are two essays, right? It's the same stuff. So if I told you that I wrote this essay, you're gonna look at it differently. But if I told you wrote that essay, I mean, I don't know how you're gonna forget the essay that you wrote, but you're gonna look at that essay differently. You know, if it's identical, because you know that this is your product, and you're gonna be putting this product out there into the world that people can see.
Yeah.
But like when your friends show you a short movie, that, I mean, you're gonna notice some like mistakes or whatever, but you're gonna be like, okay, I mean, they tried. Yeah. But if it's your short movie and you see those same mistakes, you're gonna be like, oh, ugh. Tough.
And honestly, excuse me. Honestly, sometimes you don't even think about it. I know you should intentionally and deliberately learn, be conscious about it, so that you can fix your mistakes faster. Right. But even if you just do it on autopilot, not saying like you kind of you should, but if it's like, if you're doing it mindlessly, you're still learning.
Right.
If you're still showing up and you're not even thinking about what you're saying and stuff like that, you're still there, putting in the work. And that's somewhere in your subconscious. It's going to be there. You're learning regardless if you know it or not. You don't have to be like, oh, I say like too much. And you don't have to analyze every fucking word you say. You know what I mean? Just like sometimes I do. I mean, that's a fault within itself. But yeah, the perfectionism, man, just telling you from our experiences, we're 17 episodes deep. That is nothing. Right. That's nothing, man. Like, we've been doing martial arts for a very long time now. And that's even nothing. We put in the work, I get it, but then to us, the standards got a little bit higher. So that's why I mean, like, it's nothing, because once you go, the bar raises, right? Once you get next level up, the bar keeps raising, and you're never. Here's another one. You're never arrived. You're always becoming. There's no end to the shit.
100%.
There's no end to the shit. And yeah, so perfectionism. Before we end that part of it, yeah, don't let perfectionism stop you, because that's the very thing that's gonna hold you back from your everything that you want in life.
Improvement.
Everything you want in life. Wayne Gretzky said, "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take."
That is
It's
true.
brilliant. Yeah, that's it. So moving on. So you get the mics. You get it. Honestly, this. Talking about this, it seems like it's just layman's terms. Like I'm like, wow, I can't believe I didn't start
Before.
like a while ago, because now that we're doing this, easier said than done. I completely get it, but it's just two guys talking.
Yeah.
You figure out a schedule. It's just two guys literally. We can do this at a coffee shop without all this fancy tech.
Yeah, that's right.
Like you can press record on your record Apple, and maybe like get those cheap mics. I forgot what they called, where you hold them up.
The lavaliers.
Yeah, or whatever, right? You could get them like I think $25 on Amazon
Yeah.
for like a good model.
Yeah.
And you could just go to town. You could go to a coffee shop, meet each other up, set your phone down, start an audio file, and then just talk. You don't even have to have a video file. But the point is to start to get momentum.
Right.
To be like, oh, okay, yeah. You know what I mean? So there's one. All we do literally is just press record. I know we got these quote unquote fancy lights, and all that, because I legit wanted to make a studio, and like I said, I wanted to go all in on it.
Yes.
Because it means a lot to me. That's why I did this fancy stuff. But you don't have to. You don't have to, man. And a lot of this fancy stuff, like I said, it didn't cost me a lot. I guess it looks expensive, but so did this watch. But guess how much this watch was? $30.
Yeah. Hey.
You know what I mean?
Good price value.
Yeah.
You get the value out of it.
It looks nice.
Yeah.
So does that. And these aren't even expensive. Like this thing I pretty much, I need to start affiliate marketing, because all this stuff is from Amazon. Click the link below, which there's not going to be a link below eventually. But yeah, so yeah, man, the other part of podcasting that I guess, so there's that. You have to take the steps, physical steps. You got to get, even if you do a podcast by yourself, a standalone podcast, a talking head podcast, that's it. You press record, you get a mic, that's it. You put it, you don't even have to, God forbid, you don't even have to edit it, right? Like you could do jump cuts. Hell, if you don't even know how to edit, if you're that lazy to edit, you don't even have to edit it.
Just upload
but make
the
sure
whole
to
file.
upload it, publish. It might be more authentic, honestly, because I think that's what's like the trend now or something like that.
Right.
But
at the same time, like, it's very important that who you surround yourself with. I don't know if I'm going to be out branching here a little bit, but like you said, like, we're mixed martial artists, so that gives us that discipline. But I remember the time that my switch kick. You remember my switch kick?
Yeah,
Because I didn't learn the
Lord.
but now I
I know,
took
I'm
pretty
just
decent
kidding.
switch kicks.
I'm just
But
kidding.
like,
Yeah.
if you switch those hips all the way to the back, it's telegraph, right?
Yeah, you can't. You were galloping.
Yeah,
that's really what it was.
And
Yeah,
that's just too slow in sparring or fighting situations.
It's what do they call it? Telegraph? Yeah, you're
telegraphed,
right.
yeah. But if I didn't know the proper technique and I didn't learn that along the way, I'll be throwing bad switch kicks all my life. And that's why surrounding yourself with people who wants to better your technique or your skills overall, that's also very, very important.
Yeah, that's good. That's where I was going to get to next, meaning the mindset that you have to have in order to do this, right? Like the podcasting, because when you're scared to do something that is, and when you actually do it, when you're scared, let me say that again. When you do something and you're scared of it and you do it anyway, that is the definition of confidence and courage. Courage. That is the definition. This has been said before. I don't know if it's a Winston Churchill quote or a Dustin Poirier quote that he said after a fight. Like there's Dustin Poirier, Winston Churchill. But you can't have courage without fear. And if you're very fearful, so where I was getting at, that if you're scared to start, like a social media because you're scared to put yourself out there and you do it anyway, kudos to fucking you, because that's one of the hardest things to do. It is. You got millions of people. I know that we say that people don't give a fuck, and they don't. They don't. They're worried about their lives. We've said that multiple times on this podcast, but they don't. But that's besides the point. It's still scary to put yourself out there in front of camera, and even just to talk, even without a video. You know, you're scared of what people are gonna think. Maybe it's due to rejection, and it's due to external self-worth. And it's a motherfucker. I completely get it. I completely get it. But I'll tell you this: if you don't do anything about it, you will go nowhere, man.
Nowhere.
I listened to this NYU professor, Scott Galloway. He has this book like Wealth on Algebra or something like that. I butcher these books, man. I listen to so many audiobooks, but it's like Wealth on the Algebra of Wealth, right? And he talks about if you ever want to have anything good in your life, I promise you this relates to like podcasting, because I'm talking about like how to start.
Right.
Even if you don't have anything, if you don't take any risk, you will get nowhere. You will get nowhere, man. And the biggest disappointment in life, I think, and I've seen a lot of, I've read books on this 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. One of the things that he talks about is have the end in mind. So when people are looking, when people are in their deathbeds, what do you think that they think about?
The things that they haven't done.
Exactly. It's
Rather
not
than the things that they have done and they're being embarrassed by those. No, you think about the things that you haven't done, but you could have been. You could have done.
Right. It's regret.
Yeah.
Right.
Worst.
Yeah. It's regret. It's the things that you've experienced, the things that you didn't experience. It's not the money that they made. I know it's easy. I know it's easy to go around and say that, right? It's almost like, we all need finances. We need those finances as tools to take care of people, including us, including if you have kids, your parents, and everything. Even like just going out, it's a good tool to have. If you want to decompress and take a vacation because you've been working so hard, it's a great tool to have, right? Money's great.
Yeah. Money is great for freedom.
Yes.
But it's never the tool.
Yeah.
It's the tool, not the goal.
Yes,
That's
but the greatest freedom is time and attention.
Yeah, you can't take it back.
Yeah, and the whole point of this, now we're going to go back to what we were talking about. The whole point of this podcast or whatever social media endeavor that you're doing, it's a building mechanism for growth. That's really what it comes down to. Doing a creative endeavor and doing what you like to do and what you like to talk about, personalized for you, for your genetics, for how you speak, for the weirdness that you can offer. That's really the point of why you do entrepreneurship or why you go out when no one's fucking watching. That's the whole point. I understand the money aspect of it. I understand if you can't do it, I completely get it. Like, you have a 9-to-5, or even if you're a doctor making all this money, like you don't want to quit that for a creative endeavor, but at least try it and put your all into it. Don't just try it. Okay. Like try it and make sure you gave it your all so that at the end of the day, you can say that you fucking did it.
Yeah.
And not have any regrets.
And I want to add to that courage thing that we were talking about. So there's this spectrum, right? It's very important. Cowardice and recklessness. So cowardice is that you're not doing anything because you're scared. And recklessness is that you got no fear, but you can die any second. And right in the middle is courage, because you're feeling fear, but you're still taking action regardless of the fear that you're feeling. So it's somewhere between cowardice, recklessness comes courage. That's what I believe in.
Yeah. You're always before I circle back and get back on the podcast, because I know and hey man, this is a part of it, right?
Yeah.
We are a self-improvement kind of self-development. Some of the things we say a lot, we repeat it, but it's necessary. It's fucking necessary to get it in your head.
You gotta internalize that quote.
Yeah, you have to keep saying it over and over, and I'm going to keep saying it over and over on maybe every podcast, just so that people, including us, internalize it and learn it for ourselves. Sometimes I forget. Sometimes I don't practice what I preach, and I'm willing to admit that.
Right.
But like you're always going to have fear. especially relating to the social media content. You're always, that's again one of the scariest things you could do. You're putting yourself out to strangers to judge you.
Yeah.
Pretty much. They're gonna say some shit.
Okay.
And the majority of them, I guarantee you, man. I guarantee you, they're gonna have like a negative bias towards it. They're gonna be like, "Who the fuck does this guy think he is?
Yeah.
And what kind of expertise does he have?" That's definitely one of the things that I was scared of. I know a lot of people, meaning like I go to a lot of places, and we all know each other, right? Like we're all connected. We know of each other. If we don't know each other, like you know people, and to put yourself out there and like just knowing that they're following you on Instagram or whatever platform you're on, dude, it's like you're literally standing on stage being, "Look at me, motherfucker."
Judge me.
Yeah. That's what you're saying. Judge me by the things I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, judge me on the things that I'm saying that you think I don't know. That's, yeah. So, but yeah, man, I gotta say, it's the biggest payoff.
Yeah,
it's the biggest payoff. And like I said, we're only 17 episodes deep, but then I can see myself growing up in front of, this might be like it's a self-criticism, but I can see myself. I speak a lot better. One of the benefits, that's number one. I speak a lot better.
Likewise.
Number two is that in my mind, and it doesn't matter just as long as I think it, it's growth. It's building on what I already have. It's building on my good habits that I already have. So it's building on the business domain front of it, right? Because with health and fitness, I try to check that, right? Doing martial arts and lifting weights. With my finances, I try to invest in stuff like that the most that I can. With this, it's almost like a creative endeavor along with building like whatever company that you're trying to build.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just, it's one of the more fulfilling things in life.
Yeah.
That's, that. But
I feel like every creative endeavor, like I think like us humans, like I don't want to like go off topic here, but like since the cavemans, like they wanted to express themselves, like the paintings, like the hunters hunting like wild animals and stuff like that. So it comes from our ancestors to express ourselves with a creative endeavor, and this is one of the modern ways of cave paintings. That's how I see it.
It's limiting beliefs that you learn as you're growing up.
Yeah.
It could even be from the parents that you love, right? It's their beliefs instilled in you. And some of them are very limiting, right? It's almost like, hey, go to school, and hey, please go to school. If you know what I mean? Like for higher learning. Like I'm not telling you not to. But if you don't want to do it, fucking hell, you don't want to do it. It limits your freedoms, right? If you're gonna be a doctor, fucking good for you, man. Like that's great. You're gonna be a first responder. Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We need those.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. But yeah, it's just yourself. Hey, man. So here's another thing about mindset. Like, yes, what you were going back to before I forget. I was listening to again this guy Omar Takari, who is El Takari, who is part of the Think Media podcast, right? And he just came out with a podcast called like The Department or something like that. And what he was saying was, here's another reason why you have to hang out with people that are good for you, or people that you want to be like, or whatever they're trying to do. Hang out with those people.
Yes.
Check this out, man. It blew my mind. It's a concept. Is that you're borrowing their beliefs. Think about that concept real quick.
Very interesting.
Because if you're, say, I'm just going to make this an example, right? If I'm learning about this business, right? And then say I didn't know you, but we started getting to know each other. And then we had these like mastermind. I started a mastermind, right? Like get everyone together that does a social media creative endeavor. You're going to go up to me. I'm going to be like, hey, this is what works for me. And so like, regardless if, you don't have all the tools, then you could just start, if I'm telling you that, you're borrowing my belief system to instill in you. And pretty soon that's going to be your belief system because you hang out with me so much. You see what I'm saying? You're like, this motherfucker could do it. I can do it.
Too.
Yeah. You're probably thinking I can do it even better, honestly. Right.
Until you actually do it though.
Yeah.
Because that's a humbling experience.
Yeah. But the point is that whatever that I've seen that you haven't seen yet, I'm literally putting it to you. I'm literally putting it inside your head. And you're like, oh shit, that's how it works.
Right.
Those are more the specifics of why you need to hang out with people that that all have already done what you're trying to do, and that are willing to teach you, right?
True.
Yeah, but yeah. So yeah, we covered like the tools that you need. Pretty much, pretty much what we said is
How
just
to start.
Yeah, and that's just the start. There's millions and millions of tutorials. Not like you had to listen to this video, but I hope it was like really motivating.
Yeah.
Because it does teach you a lot of skills besides, and a lot of skills that we didn't talk about. You know,
Editing or
yeah, because it
social
parlays
media
from
management.
there. It connects from there because it builds you up, and with the communication, which is what I was saying, that the biggest skill that I've learned, just listening to people and speaking more eloquently, that also relates to networking, right? If you have a powerful communication style, you will get pretty much, you will have a better chance to get the job that you want. You will get that date that you want,
Yeah.
right? That girl that you've been longing for, because she was like, oh man, this guy's like learns a thing or two, you know, along his whatever the fuck
One
journey.
thing or two.
Yeah. Whatever journey that he was on, like, you don't even have to say it.
Yeah.
She's like, damn.
Shows.
This guy, it shows. Yeah. It's like you working out. You don't say you work out. They just know, they could tell, dude.
Right.
Right? That's the same thing with speaking. If you can go into like an interview and like sit here, even though you're nervous, just like what we're doing, right? Like when we speak on these cameras in the beginning, and you have the courage to muster her up, that's already a fucking feat
Win,
within
yeah.
itself. That's a win. You're out there talking to a job prospect, and you're there, man.
You're acing it.
Not a lot of people are, I'm sure a lot of people were scared to apply for that job that you just applied there, but you're there, scared as shit, but granted, you're still there,
Right.
handling your business. So, yeah, man, I think that was good. I think we'll end it there. I think we covered a lot of ground as far as this is, you know, we started with like the how-to guide. It's not like an ultimate like specific tech guide, you know, like
Right.
you know, like this light, what brand this is. We're not really in
Mics,
that
yeah.
business, honestly. Maybe eventually, like,
Right.
well, if people really comment down below, if people really want to know what we're using, like I said, these mics were like $60.
$50
and this
for the lights.
yeah, and this pod track, it's timeless. This fucking thing is fucking timeless, man. Like, meaning, dude, it looks like a cheap plastic, is because that's literally what it is.
Yeah.
But oh man, even the sound quality is just great on it.
Right.
It's great. It's like you could take it. It's mobile. You could take it anywhere with you. But yeah, just that shows. Not for that today, like, you know, the specific brands, but yeah, comment below if you want to see more of those videos, what we use and what we use for the lights in the studios, because we did upgrade it a little bit when I felt like we needed to get better quality. But yeah, man, it's more of a mindset thing, and again, just start, man. Look towards that direction. It's also a skill within itself to not give a fuck what people think. Yeah, and that's the biggest lesson that you can learn from being an entrepreneurship. Take it from us. We're only 7 episodes deep. We're right there with you. And yeah, man, good luck in everyone's endeavors. And we're a community. We help each other out. You know, reach out to us. My email and my Instagram, all my links are everywhere, pretty much. If you go on our YouTube, my Instagram, you'll find my link tree. I think that's what it's called.
Right.
You'll see all the links, and you could get a hold of me, Erim, whatever you'd like. So, yeah, awesome. Another one in the books. Dude, that was really good.
17.